All right, good morning, students. Yesterday we had our first Zoom Tim's Tech Talk, and unfortunately it didn't record correctly. There's no audio, and that was my fault. So I want to get something out there a little bit, kind of an overview of what we talked about. Basically, I was very happy with the session. Unfortunately, I'm not going to remember all the questions because I was relying on technology to help me remember them, but I'll try to do my best. So I got a little recap here of what we talked about. Basically, the Tim's Tech Talks are an informal environment to listen and share ideas. They're not mandatory. Meetings hopefully will be recorded and posted on YouTube so that we can add closed captions. We have several people in the course that are hearing impaired, so I'm hoping that I can add closed captions, and the only way that I can do that easily is through YouTube. So I apologize to those folks for not being involved in the first meeting, but going forward I'll work on that. A little bit about my background: I did 6 years in the Navy, and I worked in communications and crypto. Crypto, for those of you that don't know, that's the equipment that codes the messages. There were not a lot of people in the Navy that did my specific job, and it took about 2.5 years of specialized training to do it. And then when I got out in the fleet, I flew from ship to ship and fixed their equipment. It's very expensive to train somebody to do that, and it's a very good skill set to take away from the Navy when you leave, because people in the real world, like Raytheon, which is where I went on to work, they want that skill set because they don't have to pay you. I did do 25 years at Walt Disney World total. I worked there for a couple years, then I left and worked in the entertainment business, family entertainment centers. Pete Rose was one of our clients. Let me see, who was the other one? Wilt Chamberlain was one of our clients. Marriott World Center. Disney was one of my clients. I actually had a couple Disney accounts because I had relationships there, so that helped me get the company's foot in the door. And then I left that job and came back and went back to work at Disney, where I worked for 23 more years. I first started programming when I was around 14 years old. I started on what was a VIC-20 computer. For those of you that don't know, that was the baby to the Commodore 64. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that. And what I like to do in my spare time here in retirement is I like, of course, work with students, help them get successful in life and get set up to be successful. And I like to work with my Raspberry Pis. I do a lot of pen testing. I do internet research. I like to scan for open ports and see what services are running out there in the internet. So there's a whole science behind that. It takes somebody that's very patient, somebody that's got a lot of time on their hands. I enjoy working with Raspberry Pis. I do some robotics work. I actually have a couple of robots I'm working on right now. I have one of the vacuum robot cleaners that I'm trying to take apart, and I want to add GPS to it and do something with that. Maybe add a little bit of AI in there and add some form of sight and have it chase my dog around the house. That's how boring it can get sometimes when you get up to 58 years old. I enjoy programming and all that good stuff. I like to fish. My wife and I live in both Claremont, Florida and Livonia, Georgia, but due to COVID, we're spending a lot of time up in Livonia. For those of you that don't know, I'm in the northeast part of the state up here. We have a cottage that's right near Lake Hartwell. In fact, I can look out my window in my office right now and see Lake Hartwell, but unfortunately there weren't any lots open on the lake. You have to wait for somebody pretty much to die to get a lot on the lake. That's how nice it is up here. It's a beautiful area. We're at the very foothills of the Appalachians and Blue Ridge Mountains. The Appalachian Trail starts about 40 or 50 miles from our home. So how to be successful in my classes? That's a great question. I know, just so you know, we got a very diverse group of people in my courses this semester. I got two 14-year-olds that are dual enrollment. We have about a dozen dual enrollment students total. And surprisingly for some people, the dual enrollment students always do the best, and I think it's because they're more disciplined. I find that people that have been out of school for a while struggle a little bit, but everybody can make it. I saw an interesting article the other day on the internet that some guy was asking, hey, look, I'm 30 years old, I want to get into computer programming, am I too old? And the editor of the article wrote back, oh, no, you'll never make it in the industry because you didn't start coding at 3 or 4. Maybe 5 at the latest. And then he kind of ha-ha'd, and then he told the guy, look, you can start programming at any age. That being said, there's some things that are required for coding. You got to have some critical thinking skills. You got to be able to follow instructions. You got to be able to work in teams. You got to be able to do research. You got to be able to read, and you got to be able to accept a little bit of failure. Nobody sits down at a computer and writes code right out of the door, and the code's perfect every time. Part of the learning process is making mistakes and figure out what those mistakes are. The compiler will kind of tell you and point you in the right direction, and then what you do is you just go ahead and you research that term online. If you get a syntax error or an error code 3252, then you just look that up online and see what it was, and hopefully there'll be some information out there to help you out. out. So it does take some work. Don't expect any free rides from me. I don't help students with homework. I looked up what it takes to be a good professor, and it basically says you create a syllabus, you provide materials, you create supplementary materials, and you grade papers, and you give students feedback on their performance. Nowhere in there does it say that a professor has to do their students' homework. So don't ask me to help you with your homework. We have tutors. We have a tutoring lab that's available, and all that information's on the website. I find that most students are really good, or by the time they get done with my class, they go out and they get on YouTube and they know how to research. I do provide some supplemental YouTube videos in the course that I think cover everything, and I think that once you get used to it, I think most of you, when you watch the videos, you should be set to go. And of course, you can research your own videos. You can also use Google, which is a great tool. So learn how to use those tools. So we have some people that are already skipping content. They think that they can just go in and do assignment 1, then assignment 2, and not do what's in between in the modules. Good luck on that. You won't pass the class, I guarantee it, because you won't have the stuff that's in the modules. So make sure that you go to the modules tab that's on the left of your course page. Start at the top, go through, watch all the videos. All right, I didn't take the time to cut the videos to put them in there because I have nothing to do in life. So make sure you watch all the videos. Chances are there's some videos that cover your exact assignment or something very near it. From there, you got to learn a little bit on your own. So if you're skipping the content, again, you're not going to make it. Some of you may be a little bit overwhelmed at first because this is your first programming class. Yesterday when we had the discussion, I thought that there was a class that you could take before this that was some type of an object-oriented programming class. I taught it years and years ago, but it was probably like 18 years ago, 15 years ago. There is no such class anymore. So this is kind of your first class in programming. And it is an intro class. We're not going to put anybody on the moon here. So just buckle up and do a little bit of work, and I think everybody will be okay. Make sure you, Neil and Charlie set up a Discord page. I think that's a great resource for you. And I think that'll point you in the right direction. There's students on there almost all the time. I'm finding that both Neil and Charlie are pretty sharp. There's a couple other sharp students that hang out on there that can probably help you. One of my pet peeves is procrastinating. All right. So if you wait until Monday night, the assignment's due at midnight, you wait until Monday night, 8 o'clock, and you start looking for help, I'm going to know it. Because a lot of times I'm active in the discussions, I'm active online, I just run it on my phone and it sits there while I'm watching a movie or whatever. That frustrates me. If that's all the effort you want to put in the class, you're not going to pass. It's not a good game plan. If it were me, I'd be Tuesday and Wednesday, I would be doing the assignments. Sometimes the assignments are easy, sometimes the assignments are hard. Sometimes the assignments require watching a lot of videos. So Monday at 8 p.m. for an assignment to do at 12 isn't going to work. Discussions are mandatory, and it's also mandatory that you post good content. 2 or 3 sentences, if it's good, might get you by. I like to see like 4 or 5 as long as the content's good. I grade on content, not quality. Some people can talk for a day and not say anything. And then you have to respond back to 2 of your peers, and that's correct or I agree is not a proper response. I want to see something where you've engaged in dialogue. So going forward, that's going to be mandatory. The first week worth of homework, I was pretty lenient on the grade, especially the discussions. So make sure that you reply to 2 of your peers, or you will not get full credit. If you wait and you post anything, whether it's your response or your original post, after the due date, I automatically take 10% off a week. And then I also grade a little bit harder, so I would suggest that you get those done. Most of them are only 5 or 10 minutes worth of work. I know that some people wait till the last minute on that, but I think this year we have enough people that are highly motivated in the classes that they're going to be 2 groups. There's going to be the group that does them right away or does them a little bit early, and then there's going to be the group that waits till the last minute. So the people that get them done right away, I think there'll be enough of them that you can respond to a couple people on the Tuesday or the Wednesday of that week. Here's one that we did not cover yesterday, and I wish we would have. Online metrics for the instructor. Just so you all know, this one cracks me up. I have a buttload of metrics that Canvas keeps for me. I know how long you're online. I know what pages you've viewed. I know what you did. Simply going online, logging in, and walking away doesn't work because it's active time online is one of the metrics that I get. So if you write me and you say, hey, I don't know how to do this. I had somebody do this week. They didn't know how to square 2 numbers. And they told me that they'd watched all the videos. Well, they only had 4 hours of time for week 1 and week 2 so far, total. and I added that up. And I know for a fact, because I'm looking at the students that did really well in the assignments that I know watched the videos, and they had like 10 or 15 hours of time total online. I knew already from previous courses how much content was online and about how long it takes. So the fact that the student tried to tell me that he'd watched everything was BS. He had not, and he got hammered for it. He redeemed himself a little bit because he came back and he apologized and he admitted that he had not watched everything. So fortunately for him, he redeemed himself, or else it would have been a rough semester for him. And he actually had in his email back to me, there was a couple nice comments that I liked a lot. So he's redeemed himself. Seems like a pretty good kid. Laziness, I do not tolerate laziness. I can detect it. If you're going to be lazy in life, you're not going to make it. I know society's changed a lot since I was going to college 20, 30 years ago, but I still want to maintain the school's reputation and my reputation. I am going to probably require that most people do a little one-on-one meeting for me, especially my project management course and my capstone class. We'll do a little Zoom meeting. That's mandatory. And the reason for that is I get opportunities to help people find jobs a few times this semester. And because of my reputation and because of the school's reputation, I'm not going to refer somebody that's a dirtbag to somebody that's looking for an employee. So if I don't think that you can cut it in the real world, I'm going to know that after the interview, and I'm just going to take your name out of my imaginary little list that I keep for referrals. If you're late with your homework, you're not going to get a referral. If you turn in crappy work, you're not going to get a referral. I am going to cherry pick the best people for my referrals. So you're all competing against each other, right? Just like in the real world, we all compete against each other. So look at the guy on your left, look at the girl on your right. You're all competing together. So I'm not going to cut anybody any slack that doesn't do the work and doesn't step up to the plate and at least attempt to swing the bat. I'm just not that kind of guy. All right, another question that came up yesterday was certs versus degrees. That comes up every semester. It used to be a few years ago, 10 years ago, I would have told you that certs were very important, but now you need them both. I will tell you that if you have certs, it'll help you get your foot in the door. If you have the degree, it's going to say that you've done a certain amount of work, and it's from a recognized institution in the industry, so that's a good thing. Speaking of certs and work, somebody asked yesterday about courses in Udemy. I don't want to bash any of the platforms that are out there, but if it were me and I were an employer and I was looking for somebody, I mean, Udemy does have some good classes. We talked about this yesterday, but I would stick to the ones that come from an accredited school. Even like Harvard has some online courses that some of the people pointed out that are free, and you can attend those for free. They're online. At least you have a reputable school behind you. There's a lot of boot camps out there. I've looked at some of them. One of them was, I think, e-hacking. And I thought about going to that one myself because it was only like $39. And then I got to thinking about it. It's run by a company out of India. And I've done that kind of stuff before, and then the website went down and I was out the money. So I'm going to stick with the tried and true, the ones that have the high reviews. That's my recommendation to you. What you do is your business. So that's enough on the certs and degrees. We covered you're competing against each other. A couple other things that came up yesterday in class. Like, let's see, Vincent asked, I think it was, about how I felt about Zoom and its security. And we talked about it a little bit, and I went to bed last night and I actually thought about it a lot more. For the most part, I think that Zoom is pretty secure. I use it on my own computer. I use it on my computer for my business. I use it on the computer that I have my taxes on. But I pay attention to what's going on. When things pop up, I run antivirus. I'm behind a NAT firewall. So I have things in place to protect me a little bit. But after I went to bed last night, there was one thing that came up. And I keep asking myself this with technology all the time. So a day later, after I've thought about the question, it was an excellent question. Again, I'm going to go with Zoom's probably pretty safe to use. I'm still checking out Discord. I really like Discord a lot, and I think that one of the reasons why I like Discord is because a lot of you are involved in Discord, and I see you on there all day long. Good for you. You got the time to do that, but I see you interacting with each other. I think that Discord is a little bit better of a tool, but unfortunately, I don't know what these companies are collecting in the background. And one of the things that makes me nervous in life is, why would somebody create a Discord platform, or why would somebody create Zoom and then basically give it away for people to use? They're collecting some kind of data, and in a couple of weeks you're going to have a discussion where I have you watch a 60-minute story, and it's on apps that people create for our personal phones. And the whole goal of those apps is to keep you on that phone. And what they're doing is they give them away for free, but then they sell the data of what you do all day long on your phone. And when you sign your EULA, you give that right away. So that's what I'm a little bit concerned about. Are are the tools safe? Yes, they're probably safe, but I suspect that somebody's collecting data, and it may not be they're collecting data on Tim Starr, the person, but they're collecting data that somebody in Claremont, Florida, went to this website and did this, and they looked at this, and then they went to this site to buy something. I think that's how detailed the information is. And when we do that discussion, I'm going to somebody else, I think it was JP, brought up Splunk yesterday. And again, I'm learning everybody's names, so I apologize, but I think it was JP brought up Splunk yesterday. It's an excellent tool. So one of the discussions we're going to have is on Splunk, and we're going to talk about all the data that's available. And I think that a lot of you are going to freak when you see that particular video, because from the time you get up in the morning till the time you get home at night, if you have a cell phone, people are monitoring what you do. Again, they're not monitoring what Tim Starr does, but they're monitoring what customer 397563 ABC does. Okay, and they're collecting just massive amounts of metadata to know what your daily routine is, and one of the reasons they do that, and I know this for a fact because I know somebody that created the app personally, is that way when you're driving down the street, if you go down Highway 50 every day and you pass a company like 7-Eleven at Cimarron and 50, wherever there's a 7-Eleven, I just made that up, but they know you go by there. It's so that they can target ad you. All right, so that they can shoot an advertisement to your cell phone. That's how detailed some of these tools are. And again, we'll get more into that. We also talked yesterday about the autonomous trucks, the semis that have 35,000 pounds of cargo in them, and they're out on the streets, and they're testing them right now, and they don't have a driver in them. It's all computerized. So that's going to be a discussion that comes up. I think that pretty much covers it.